Hello everyone, welcome back to my video series on how to create a first-person shooter inside of Unity without any scripting. Today we're going to be taking a look at how we can set up shooting animations from both the hip and aim down sights. We're also going to be updating our aim down sight mechanics to make them more smooth. And we're going to create some ammo and a GUI, graphics user interface, to keep track of all of it. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm just going to show you how I set the shooting animations up, just so you guys can see how you would do it. But I was recording myself while I was doing it, and it took me a while to figure out some stuff. So I'm just going to show you guys how you can do it yourselves. And this is how. So you remember at the last video we did not have all this stuff. We had just the aim down sights. That's all we had set up. You can see I added two more animations. One is shoot, and this shoot is at the hip, and aim down sight shoot, which is where our gun has an updated position in our aiming idle, and it shoots from that position instead of using our hip shoot, because we wouldn't want it. You get the point. But hopefully, what's this? The given key was not present in the dictionary. Okay. Clear that. So yeah, what you'll do is you'll create two new animations. One will be your shoot animations from the hip, and one will be an ADS shoot. And I'll show you how I set these up. So in animation here, we'll go to our Glock. These are animated on the same model, by the way. The same holder, I'll call it. So in our animations, we have aim down sights, aiming idle, back to hip, hip idle, and these two new ones. So the shoot one, what I did is I animated the gun, the position, the rotation, and the slide, and that's all I animated. The way I did this was by going to my scene viewer. I turned on the record button, and then you would go forward, and I made the decision to have my slide back all the way at 2 frames, and as you can see right here, and my slide goes back to normal at 4 frames. So my slide is coming out and going back to normal in 4 frames. The position of the Glock, all I did was move it back and rotate it up a little bit, and then it goes back to the same position I started at. Basically, everything here at the beginning is the same exact as it is at the end, because you want your gun to go back to where you're holding it. So that's how I did the shoot animation. And by the way, there is a little trick to getting this. I had a little trouble getting the slide to animate. So what I ended up doing was going to the slide, locking this in the inspector so I could access the transform points later, going back to my Glock my shoot animation, and then I added a property, as you can see is right there, but I went right arm, Glock, slide, transform, and I added the plus on position, so it will now record the position, and you still got the inspector up here. So when I went to 2 frames, I just moved the Z-axis, as you can see, and that is pretty much it. All I did. So I moved it, and then I copied the value of where the slide was originally and pasted it here. And that's it for the hip shoot animation. For the aim down sight shoot animation, I copied everything in the shoot animation and basically set the position of the gun here at these keyframes, I set it to the position. I copied it from our aiming idle. I copied these values into aim down sight shoot position, and basically just made it the same exact as it was here at the shoot. So to get this all set up to working, when we pull our trigger, it shoots, plays a shoot animation, and when we're aiming down sights, it plays the aim down sight shoot animation. I made a new transition from a hip idle to the shoot, as well as back to hip, and those are the only places we can access the hip idle shoot animation. What I did in parameters is made a new parameter called fire, and this fire parameter is controlled by the Glock. Oh, we gotta unlock this. It's controlled by the Glock shoot. So when we go into check if hit, which is basically when we pull our trigger, whatever happens when we pull our trigger, it's gonna happen in this state. So I set the animator bool of fire to true. And as you can see, we had to add a new state. And originally it looked like this. We had just like this. I changed it so that it has just barely amount of weight so that the fire can actually be activated. Because if we had no weight, then immediately after we fire, the animator bool is going to change back to false instantly. So we couldn't have that happen, or else it would just not play at all. So we had to add this. I had to add this weight. And then in the animator, I added 2 transitions to the shoot. On the transition from hip idle to shoot, the condition was if fire was true. And it has no exit time, because as soon as we pull the trigger on our hip idle animation, we want it to play through the animation and go back to hip idle. And the way that happens is on our other transition back, we don't need a transition at all, because it's just waiting till the shoot animation's done, and then it exits, goes back to the hip idle. So also you can see that there's a transition from back to hip, which is the transition from our aiming idle to our hip idle. That's the animation that plays in between these. And we want to be able to shoot while that's happening. So, because we want to be able to shoot anytime, we don't want to wait for any animations. So, when we're in back to hip, when the animation of back to hip is playing, there is a transition, and this transition is on the condition that if fire is true, so if we press the trigger while we're in this state, it's going to go to shoot. And that will allow us to shoot while we're going back to hip. That applies also to this. If we're in this transition and fire is true, we're going to go to our aim down sight shoot. And you can see there are transitions going back to these states right now, and I'll explain that in just a second. But first, let's cover the aiming idle and aiming shoot. So the condition that we go to our aim down sight shoot is if fire is true. And once that's basically going to do the same thing. It's going to play through the aim down sight shoot and go right back to aiming idle. So basically, if we're at our hip, or if we are either in these two states, hip idle or back to hip, if we press our trigger, if we press our mouse button, it's going to shoot our hip idle animation. If we're in the states aim down sight transition or aiming idle, either of those, it's going to play the aim down shoot transition. So that's basically how it's set up. And before, with our aim down sights set up, we actually had to wait. When we just clicked our right mouse button, you can see now it's going back. As soon as we let go of the right mouse button, it's going to go back to our hip idle. And it used to be, if we clicked it would play through the whole thing here. And we don't want that to happen. So the way we fix this is adding a transition back to hip idle. And all it is if aiming condition is false, it's just going to go back. And it doesn't have an exit time, and the transition is about 50% blend, so that it kind of animates back by itself. And the same thing for when we're going from aiming idle to back to hip, and we want to go back to aiming. So if we're here, we let go and we want to go back to aiming, it's the same thing. If aiming is true, it's going to blend 50%, go back to aiming idle. And that's all it is, and that makes it so much nicer. So that's basically how I set up the aim down sights, all the shooting and stuff, all the animations for that. And now let's look and see how we can implement ammo into our game. So what we'll do is go to our Glock model, which has our magazine in it, and the magazine is going to be what holds the ammo. So we'll make a new FSM and we'll call this ammo. Edit that. At the start state, we want to name it initial ammo, and we want to make a new variable, and this is going to be called ammo, and we'll make that a float. So at the start, we want to set the float value to 15, because that is how many bullets a standard pistol has. And that is going to set once. We want to create a new state, which will be called subtract ammo. And we want to create a new event, which is called fire. We want to add global transition fire, the event we just created. Go back to our shoot FSM here. So this, in this state, the state that sets the animator bool, that raycast, we want to subtract ammo because we want to send event by name. It's going to send the event. We can move that up here so it doesn't get in the way of weight and stuff. We want to send an event to the game object FSM of the magazine. Gotta change this to specify magazine, and our ammo, send the event fire, because that is what we named our event. So every time we press that, every time we fire, basically, it's going to subtract. So the way we do that is go float subtract, and we want to subtract 1. And once it's done subtracting, we'll go into an idle state, which does a float compare. Because if our float ammo is equal, if it's equal or less than 0, basically if we're out of ammo, we want to create a new state that's called no ammo, because we don't have any ammo anymore. So we'll need to create a new event called no ammo, and add the transition no ammo, and we can add this transition we need to add a wait here. Actually, we don't. Just need to add a finished. So once that's finished, it'll go to here, If it is equal or less than 0, we want to go no ammo. So to see how much ammo we have, we'll set that into our inspector. Okay, we have 0 ammo. Why is that? It should be setting that float. Oh, what's the error? Oh, okay. I don't know what happened there. We need to put our... I guess I forgot to put our float variable in there. So now when we watch this, you'll see it's at 15. When we fire, it subtracts. Every time we fire, it subtracts. 5, 4, 3. And you'll see when we run out of ammo, 2, 1, 0. It goes to the no ammo state. So in this state, we basically want to tell our gun that it can't fire anymore. So we'll go to Action Browser, and we'll do send event by name. Oh. What's going on? Send event by name. We want to send the event on a game object FSM. Specify that game object. It's the Glock. The FSM is shoot. And we want to send the event no ammo. Or just make that lowercase. So we need to create this event in our Glock. So we'll go to Glock, create a new state, and that state will call no ammo. Create a new event called that we assigned to it called no ammo. Add global transition of no ammo. So now when we run out of ammo, we won't be able to shoot anymore. And as you can see, it also is still playing the animation. We'll have to fix that, but we can no longer shoot because we're just stuck in this state. So in this state, we actually want to wait. Yeah, we want to wait the same amount basically here, 0.0005. Once that's done, we can actually name this wait for animation. Oh, it's already used. Okay, yeah, okay. We'll just name this state animation wait. So don't name it the same as this because you can't. Once this is done, we'll finish. That'll be finished. And we'll be in this state. No ammo. So when our last shot is fired, we will no longer have ammo. And in this state, we want to set the... I'm actually thinking of a better way to do this because... Okay, yeah, we actually don't need to do any of this. This can just be called ammo. Or, not ammo, no ammo. And we don't need to wait here. Instead of putting the wait there, we can go to our magazine, our magazine's FSM, and add a wait transition. So wait for animation. So after our idle, when it compares that we no longer have any ammo, it waits for the animation to complete. And we'll put that at the same exact time, 0.0005. Once it's finished, it will be finished. And go to no ammo. And it will send the event. So let's see if our gun's animation doesn't get messed up. Okay, it's still getting messed up. Let's see what's going on in the animator. Okay, it's actually checked, which is weird. Oh yeah, of course it is. Of course it is, because in the Glock we didn't even tell it to stop. So we need to basically copy this animator bool, go to here and paste that. Yeah, so now we'll tell it. And what's the error? Transition missing target state. Oh, yeah, we don't need this transition. Okay, let's try it out now. Yep, so you can see now we just have a gun that doesn't do anything, doesn't shoot, because it's never set to fire. It can never be set to fire in this state. So in this state, we need to create a get key down. And this is going to be our reload key. So we'll do get key down, and for me I'm going to do R for reload. We want to send the event, new event, reload. Add that. Make a new state. Name it reload. So before we can reload, we're going to need to have some spare ammo to use. So we'll go back to our magazine and create a new variable called spare. Oh, here we go. Okay. Spare ammo, which will also be a float. And that spare ammo will we'll set the float value. So we want to set the float value of our spare ammo, and we'll make it 60. So in each clip we have 15. So that means we'll have 4 extra clips. So now we have a new variable of spare ammo. And we need to go back to our Glock. And in this reload, we want to send event by name. We want to send it back to our magazine. We want to send the event reload. Reload. Actually, reload. Okay. So on a game object FSM, use owner. Oh. Nope, we gotta specify the magazine ammo. It sends the event reload on our magazine. So we need to create a new state called reload. And add the global. Oh, gotta make a new event. Gotta make that event reload. Add global transition reload. So when we have the option to reload, it's going to float subtract from our spare ammo. It's going to subtract 15, and it's going to add 15 back to our ammunition, our original clip, as soon as we reload. So once this is done, we want to send event by name. Our target is our game object FSM. Oh, is a game object FSM. It's our Glock. Oh, not that one. It's our Glock, and it's shoot, and it's sending the event. What was it? Hip shoot. So we make this hip shoot. And that's it. So now let's watch this. Let's watch the ammo and see what happens. Okay, we're out of ammo. When we press R, it sets it back up to 15, and now we have more ammo to shoot. But you'll see we do have more than 4 clips. And that's because we are not telling the game that we don't have any more spare ammo. So the way we're going to do that is do a float compare. We'll put it up here between the two. So basically, if we have no more spare ammo, if spare ammo is equal to 0, we have no ammo. If it's less than, we don't have ammo either. So no ammo, and it goes back to no ammo. So let's see what that does. Okay, that's 1 clip. 2 clips. 3 clips. 4 clips. And we can't reload anymore. We're all out of ammo. So there's nothing we can do. One last thing we can do is add a little bit of user interface, graphic user interface, so that we can see the amount of ammo in our magazine. The way we can do this is by right-clicking on our Glock, going to UI, and selecting a canvas. And you'll see it creates this huge thing. We'll set this to world space and make our event camera our first person character, and then we can scale this down 10 by 10, even smaller. Let's try 2 by 2, smaller than that. Then we'll position this. I'm going to position it to the right of my gun because I want the ammo to show up on the right of my gun. In this canvas, we'll right click on it, create a new UI and text. We can change the horizontal overflow to overflow and the vertical overflow to overflow. So we can scale this up. What is going on? Okay, so we can keep the font size up pretty big, actually, like 150, so we have nice sharp text. And then we can scale it down, or with the scale tool. Oh yeah, you gotta change the scale right here. Okay, so we'll scale this down so we can fit it inside our canvas. And we can set the text to 0 right now. We can leave the alignment on left. Change the color to white so it stands out a little more. And personally, I'm going to change my font to American Captain. Makes it look a little cooler. The way you can import custom fonts is you can make like a fonts folder or something. Go to your Windows, and then you can just type in fonts, and then you load up this. And all you gotta do is find what you want, or you can download and install a font from the internet, and then you just drag it in. And it appears, and then you just go to your text, and you can choose that font. So like Helvetica, what I put in. And that's how you get fonts. And now, as you can see, it actually follows the camera. Well, not the camera, the Glock. So to get our variables to show up and change this text in the UI, we will go to Glock, and on this we will create a new PlayMaker FSM, and then we can call this ammo UI, I guess. Edit that. In this we want to convert, we actually first want to make our ammo variable a global so that we can access this, so that we can access the ammo variable from anywhere. So go into the magazine, edit, and in your variables, go to your ammo, global variables. Actually, right click your ammo and just move it to global variables. Press OK. Now we can go back to our Glock and open ammo UI. And now we can access that variable. So in our state 1, which we can just call ammo UI, we want to convert that float to a string. A string is just basically text. So we want to convert our ammo variable to a string, and we'll store that string as ammo string. And we want to make sure that it's updated every frame, so as soon as we shoot our gun and as soon as the variable changes, it also changes on here. Okay, next thing we gotta do is drag in the text. In this we want to go text, set property. We want to change the property to text string, and we want to set the value of that to whatever our ammo is showing up. And we want to make sure that's every frame as well. Now you'll see when we play, it automatically updates to 15, and it is updating as we shoot. And we have 0, so we can't shoot anymore. We press our reload key, and we get another 15. And that's basically it, guys. So today we got our shooting animations working. When we aim, it plays our aiming shoot animation. We also updated our aiming mechanics so that as soon as we let go of that right mouse button, it goes back. And we've added some ammo and to reload. In the next tutorial, we will find out how we can put some reload animations in and also have our spare ammo show up in our UI so we know how much spare ammo we have left, and some other things. So I'll see you later.